Hello everybody. Already thanks for tuning in. 2 minutes to go. Let me know if you can hear me or not. If the audio is okay, let me know where you're from, where you're watching from. I will be watching the live chat, or at least I'm gonna try. Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat. One more minute and then I'll be retouching this black and white image from Lean, a Belgian model from the coast part of Belgium. So we will be starting with an intro, and then after that I will be going from Capture One into Photoshop, retouch this image, export it, and then if you got questions or anything, let me know in the chat and I will be sure to reply if it's possible in the time. I have no idea how long this will take, so we'll see. Almost. Hey, welcome YouTube, welcome guys and girls. So the live stream should be live. Let me know if you can see me. If not, yeah, send me something by Facebook. I'm checking it now, so we will be waiting a bit to be sure that we have enough people joining. Not sure how many people will actually join us. So if you see me looking down, it's because my webcam is actually on my screen on this side, while my retouching screen is in front of me, just to monitor everything. So let me know, can you hear me? Can you see me? And again, if you got questions, let me know below, because it seems like we got a bit of an internet lag. I'm not sure. Am I moving properly, or is the image yeah, not moving too nicely? So I suppose you can all hear me and see me. So I'm gonna transition now to my Capture One screen. Let's see if that works. There we go. So yeah, just one quick reminder. I'm actually retouching with a Wacom pen, meaning I'm using a pen so the speed will be a lot quicker than just a mouse. This is the mouse. I'm using the pen. I'm a righty, but just to show it, this is with a pen from Wacom. So again, if you got questions about something, let me know below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Yeah, that's it. And then I'm gonna change again back to my Capture One screen. There we go. So this is actually a black and white image I've shot like 2 weeks ago with Lean. She's a model from Belgium. I'm gonna show you her Instagram. So this is her Instagram account. Feel free to go and follow her, Lean Lisa Official. Yeah, give her some love, send her some likes, and then yeah, she will be happy. So yeah, this one was shot in a 2-light setup, if I remember correctly. One accent light and just a fill light on this side. Let me see. There we go. So yeah. So what I've done with this image, so the original image had these colors. It's shot with continuous light, as you can see. The settings for this image are aperture of 2.8, a shutter speed of 1:50, and an ISO of 800. It's shot with the Nikon D850 with the 7200 attached to it, zoomed in at 100 millimeters. So what I've just done with this image, it's a crop from an image, and I've just enabled in Capture One the checkbox enable black and white, and I don't do anything else on the image. It's just this image. So when I've done this, I'm just gonna export this image out to Photoshop, meaning I'm gonna export this, and there's a train. I'm gonna export this as a Photoshop file, a 16-bit file, Adobe RGB as a color space, 300 pixels per inch, and I'm gonna open that up with Photoshop 2018. I'm gonna hit process, and then if everything works smoothly, because I can already see the system lagging just because I'm actually streaming, then it should open up in Photoshop. As you can see, normally the normal workspace should be something like this, but I've decided to actually move all my tools to the right side to actually keep everything together, so I don't have to shift constantly between left and right on my screen. That's a quick tip just to speed some things up. So I'm gonna go back to my workflow. So I'm actually gonna be going to this workflow, or workspace, not workflow, workspace. So this is the image, and we start with the background image. What I do in the beginning is actually start with a blank layer, so I'm actually gonna switch to full screen, so the letter F. And what I'm done on my nice English. My English was really nice. So what I'm gonna do then, that was a heavy one, is just start with a blank layer. Just for the people who don't know where the chat is, if you actually open up the image, the live stream, on the right side, if you're doing it on an iPad, I think there's actually an icon you can tap, and then the chat would disappear. It's like a little text balloon where you can tap on, and then the chat will disappear in the will appear on the live stream you're actually watching. If you're watching this on a computer or a Mac, there should be on the right side of the stream a little chat box where you can actually type things. So if you got questions or anything, let me know. If you don't find the chat here, feel free to send me something through Facebook, and I will import them into the live stream as we go. So just fire away. Let me turn my mic back. So again, I'm gonna start with a blank layer, and then I'm gonna use the healing brush. So not the spot healing brush, but the actual healing brush. I'm gonna zoom in. A shortcut to actually zoom in is Control space and then drag, or Command space and then drag. I'm using a computer system. If you are using a Mac, Control will be replaced by Command. So again, J for the healing brush. With the healing brush, the thing you have to do is you sample an area like this one, and then what Photoshop does, it actually makes a mixture of texture and color, and then it tries to calculate what it should replace it with. If you're doing it with the normal spot healing brush, you actually let Photoshop decide for you where he takes the sample image, meaning if we got different textures going on in the skin, it will be taken all over the image. And hi Dan, just got your notification on my Facebook. I'm not sure why people are not able to get in the chat, because I have one guy in the chat. Let me see what's going on. Hello Pascal. So yeah, we got some guys in the chat, so I'm not sure what's going on with people who are not actually able to communicate. So again, back to the retouching. So with Alt, I click and then I just go over it. Alt and then I just go over it. It's the same principle over and over again. This is like the most boring part there is. You just normally put on some music and just do it. Now, because I'm live streaming, I'm not actually able to put on some music. It might be then that you have to create like a user account on YouTube to actually be able to place a comment, even though I'm not sure. Something really important here is, like, because it's a line, if you retouch it, I'm just gonna check because people are sending me something by Facebook. I have no idea, Tom, why it does not work. Because you can hide it, but and do you have an account? I think so. If not, let me know. Let me see if my chat settings are okay, because I don't know why people have issues with it. Let's see if this might be better. I'm not sure, but I've just enabled it a little bit more without any restrictions or anything. So yeah, let's hope now you should be able to actually communicate with me. So again, back to the image, because here you have the transition between highlights and shadows. If you want to heal or fix the skin texture in this part, if you do it with the healing brush and you go from left to right, you will see that you create actually some smudges, which is really strange. What you have to do is actually follow the line of the transition. Like, for instance, if I want to remove this dot, I just click here, I sample, Alt, I click, and then I just move over it. So then the transition is respected in this area. So with spacebar, you can actually move around through the image. The same here on the nose. If you see transitions, just try to respect the transitions. One very important thing is to actually keep in mind that when you're actually retouching, that the size of the brush is not that bigger than actually the pimple you're trying to remove. Like, I'm clicking here and then I'm gonna go over all those. The same with this one. I just do it in one piece. So again, this is the most boring part, but the more time you actually spend on this part, the better the final result will be. You could remove them all with dodge and burn, but it takes forever, and since it's already not so interesting. Hello, Lady Dan. So yeah, we just move around the image. Don't stay too long in the same area. Try to move around, because the longer you stay in an area, the more possibility there is to not eventually see the errors anymore. Try to shift around as much as possible. Normally the pace for this is really quick, but since I'm live streaming, the system is so slow. Again, you try to do as much as possible and try to respect the direction of the skin. Don't go sample here and go and put it over there. It doesn't work that way. I do it like this. Yeah, when I sometimes stop speaking, it's because I'm actually checking Facebook to see if people are sending me messages like, hey, it doesn't work. For now, everything seems to be working. Again, if you got questions, let me know. So as you can see now, it's actually just the cleaning up stage. And normally you should actually name the layer and then put it in a group to actually have everything nicely organized. Now, if I zoom out with Control minus or Command minus, if I switch the layer on and off, you can already see a big difference, and that just by cleaning up the skin. Nothing fancy, just cleaning it up. just to be sure, I'm gonna create a new layer now, and I'm just gonna continue doing this, what I've been doing. Like these stripes, they should not be there, so I'm gonna remove them. This little hair straight. Also, never forget that it's not just the face you have to retouch. There's actually more to it than just the face, because a lot of people, they retouch an image totally perfect, but they forget to actually retouch hands or something, and then it looks totally funky. Again, taking, oh, there. If you make an error, just hit Ctrl Z or Command C. If you want to go further, more than one step, just hit Ctrl Alt C or Command Alt C, and then you go back in time. I'm gonna leave this little bird mark. Now to this part. Oh, it has a big delay. So annoying. Because then I can only see the results when I have actually done it. Okay, today is apparently a good day to speak English. Alright. I'm not retouching with this big size, but for some weird reason everything is like messing it up big time. So I'm just gonna check something, because I think, because I'm actually also recording it, just gonna stop recording it, and I hope the speed will be a lot. Yeah, there we go. We are back. So this goes a lot quicker. It was so slow because I was also actually recording the live stream, but I'm just gonna skip that part and just gonna get it from YouTube after it. So again, we're actually just retouching an image, a black and white image. We're still in the cleaning up stage, meaning we're still yeah, using the healing brush to clean some parts up. Don't be afraid to zoom in, zoom out with the tools you have. Command minus, command plus. Control 0 is yeah, the smallest. Control 1 is 100%. And again, if you get smudges, undo, redo, and see what the result is. So like for instance, if I want to heal this hair going there, if I would do it like this, I get a lot of smudges. I don't want to have smudges, so I'm gonna sample this line here, then I'm gonna click here and just go over it, and then it respects the lines nicely. Same here. Again, the more time you spend on this part, and I know this is the boring part, unfortunately. So I had not retouched this image before. I've shot it, told the model like, hey Lean, would you be okay if I just use this for a retouching live stream? She was like, yeah, sure, because she wants this image as a profile picture. But it's been 2 weeks, so yeah, you can totally get that she's getting anxious about it. I'm gonna see what I can manage at this part, because it's actually a mixture of soft light and hard light, meaning the light on this side is really hard. Transitions are pretty hard, so we will see what we can manage later on in the process. There we go. Still no questions. Okay, so let's say this is the part where actually everything is cleaned. Like the question is, do we have to clean up the neckline? Well, what I'm gonna do is actually just use the healing brush and remove one of them, not both. So I'm gonna go for this one, the small one, and there we go. It cleans it up a little bit more, not too much. And then I'm gonna group those. How do you group those? You just hold down shift on the top layer and then shift on the layer you want to group. You just then press Ctrl or Command G, or you just drag them to the third icon and then you just rename them cleanup. Also, when you're doing this, don't forget to actually save from time to time with Ctrl S. Yeah, just gonna check what it is because I see a lot of things going on. There we go. So that's my first step. If I switch this off and on, you see it's a pretty big difference. So the next step I will be doing is actually so I'm using this the entire time. So I'm starting always with healing. First I do a raw conversion, then I do the healing step, then I do the dodge and burn step, then I do the liquefy step, and then in the end I do the coloring. Since this is a black and white, we will be more playing around with contrast and light and darks instead of just messing around with lights. But so the first step is done, so the second step is dodging and burning. So dodging and burning means making parts lighter and darker and fixing them. What we're gonna try to do in this image is actually remove, I'm just gonna transition it again, remove like the eye bag, this line a little bit, give a little bit of a highlight in the neck, a highlight on the arm. So that's the next part we will be doing. Normally I do a dodge and burn layer with curves, but for this I'm gonna be using a gray layer because there is no color in it, meaning the shifts in color are not important because there will be no shifts because we're actually already doing it in black and white. So what I'm gonna do is create a new layer and then go to edit, fill, shift and F5, and then fill it with 50% gray, hit OK, and then change the blend mode to soft light, meaning you don't see any difference. I'm then gonna group this layer in a group called DB from Dodge and Burn. So what I will be doing now is if I paint with white, just gonna take a right brush like so. So if I paint with white, I make things lighter and brighter. If I paint with black, I make things darker. Keeping that in mind, what we're actually gonna be doing is trying to paint but with low flow, meaning a flow of 1%. So what I'm gonna do now is first try to remove the eye bag. I'm gonna take a brush which is almost the same size as the eye bag, and then I'm gonna slowly paint it in, and that's already a big difference. Also for this one. What you could do to actually see more of it, like now, this is just a small step we've done. To actually see a little bit more is actually create a curves adjustment layer and actually put some more contrast in it to actually see a little bit more what we have to fix. So what we will try to do is actually, when we're painting, we're gonna try to even this out, meaning the highlights we're gonna darken a bit and the dark parts we're gonna brighten a bit. That's the whole and the idea. So I'm using a 1% flow, a smaller brush now. I'm gonna zoom in a bit, and then I'm gonna slowly attack all those brighter parts. Don't go too crazy with it. Also, dodging and burning is something you like it or you hate it. This is more like you just put it on, you just do it, and then yeah. Also keep in mind, like, I'm painting with black and white, but to change quickly between black and white you actually can use the shortcut X on the keyboard. So if I press X, you will see them changing all the time to white and black. So I'm doing it with white now here. And I hear a lot of you guys thinking like, why would I even bother to start doing this? Well, that's something personal. You got a lot of plugins you can use. For instance, I also have imagenomic portraiture. With the right settings, you don't make Barbies. I hate it when people make Barbies, especially with nice pictures. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but you have to keep in mind, like, it's a personal taste. Like, some people like to have the skin totally smooth, some people like to have texture, some people don't know the basics of it, so they just do what they see on the internet. And as we go, I'm making my brush bigger and smaller with holding the Alt key and then dragging with the right mouse button pushed in. If I zoom out now, I switch off this layer, you can see the entire progress we've made so far. So we've actually cleaned up everything. Yeah, it's a boring part, I know, but it's part of it, especially when you want to do a little bit more than the average photographer. Also, when you're actually doing it and you are at a stage that you're no longer are able to make it darker, just make a new gray layer. Don't be afraid to actually just try to create a new layer. Like, I got an action when I push it, it doesn't do it does the same thing as normally, like fill a blank layer with 50% gray, and then yeah, I can just move on and do my thing. The question I get asked a lot is like, how do you know where you have to dodge and burn? Well, that's practice. Like, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Now, this is more like, you don't have to do it up this zoomed in. You can actually also start doing it this zoomed out to actually look at it at a bigger level. It's something, yeah, personal, like for this. Also, you don't want to completely remove all the lines there are, because that would look weird. We will be doing another step later on, and that's actually contouring it. Trying to make this part a little bit darker. And then switch that back up. Like, the differences are subtle, but they are there. So I'm gonna disable this one. Like, if you see what we've done so far, what I'm gonna do now is actually tackle this part of the face, because that's a little bit more work, because it's the skin texture here is a bit rougher, meaning I have to color it a little bit more to actually even it out. And there goes my red light, I think, behind me. That's a problem when you're using continuous light. They switch off once they get too hot. Strobes, I mean, continuous lights, they just keep burning. Also, don't expect to change the light transitions, meaning this is shadow, don't try to lift it up as even as the rest. It will not work. You will get weird things. Just try to like even out the things you can, and don't forget you always got the burn tool, meaning you can make some things darker, not only brighter. And there we go. Let's see. That's already a nice difference. Now what I'm gonna do, you see me creating new layers and layers. What I'm gonna do now is actually create the brush, but this time with a flow of 10% to actually paint in on the hair, to actually create a little bit more depth. I'm gonna make my brush a little bit smaller. There we go. So what I'm actually doing now is painting over some of the hairs to actually create a little bit more depth. I'm gonna soften this one now, so I'm gonna go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, a blur of 10 is okay, and then lower the opacity a bit, like there we go. Perfect. Again, a new soft light layer, flow of 2%, and then I'm gonna actually be more contouring it, like creating a little bit more of yeah, a shape to the face. So again, the eye, nose bridge, a little bit of a highlight on the eye, make the eyebrow a bit darker, this part a bit darker, this part a little bit brighter on the lips. Don't forget to occasionally zoom out, just to be sure that what you're actually doing is worth your time. So when I switch this one on and off now, you can actually see that the entire vibe of the image is already changing, and that's just by healing it up and just using the Dutch and Burn brushes, or at least the Dutch and Burn layers, not the brushes. If it's too much, just lower the opacity a bit so it still looks a bit natural. So what I'm gonna try to do is actually even out the skin tones between those two. That's something for later. I'm still gonna Dutch and Burn a little bit more. Just want to make a little bit of a highlight on the cheek here, and a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shadow on the arm, on the back, a little bit of light here and on the arm. And just make sure that just keep in mind that the attention in an image always goes to the brightest part. So we want to actually have the face be the brightest part instead of the body. So I'm gonna do a curve layer now. I'm gonna lower, I click the little hand icon, and then I'm gonna lower this one like so. And then on this layer mask, I'm actually gonna be using a gradient G from black, or from white, from white to black, and then I'm gonna invert the layer mask with hitting Ctrl or Command I. And then I'm gonna do a layer mask like so, just to make it a little bit darker. And even now I can still play around with it a bit. There we go. You see the attention in the image shifts entirely to her face. Just to be sure, what I'm gonna be doing now is create a little bit of a contrast in the image. I'm gonna do this with a gradient map, and then from black to white. And as you can see, you can already get an entire completely different vibe in the image. I'm just gonna lower it a bit, and then I have to decide if I want to go with negative or something like that, or keep it as it was. We'll probably be going for something like this. And then the eye is in need of a little bit more contrast, in my opinion. So I'm gonna create a curve again, and then a contrast curve, meaning 1 point down, 1 point up. So when I zoom in now, I'm gonna invert the layer mask, Ctrl or Command I, Then I'm actually gonna be painting on the eye to actually give it a little bit more punch. If it's too much, I'm just gonna lower the opacity a bit, and there we go. So as you can see, a totally different image, totally different vibe. This tree I'm gonna put in a group called toning, and because I'm actually working with layers and groups, I can still do things in between that I did not see in the beginning, or I did see, and change them up without actually having to redo everything. Just gonna check my Facebook feed just to be sure I don't get any new messages. So again, if you got questions, let me know below, because yeah, now is the time. So what I can do now is actually use a frequency separation technique to actually soften the skin if it needs to be softened. The only thing I see here with the Dutch and burn is like on one of the layers in the back, this one. You see, because I've created a contrast layer to retouch, you can see in the back that I've actually created those white spots. So I'm gonna put a layer mask on this, and then I'm gonna paint with a low flow on top of this, and then I think there should be another one. This one can still be lowered, so there we go, a lot better. It are all small changes, but in the end it makes such a big difference. This is a layer mask I've just put on this gray layer to actually disable a bit of the effect below. So are there any questions so far? Because I've been doing this for 40 minutes now and nobody is asking anything. What I'm gonna do later on is actually get a little bit of a wave in here with liquify, even make a little bit of more space between the chin and the arm, put this one a little bit up higher, and that will be it. So again, I'm gonna create a new touch and burn layer, low flow of 1%, and then I'm gonna gently try to create a little bit more depth in the image. I'm still just doing dodging and burning without any funky things going on. What I'm gonna do is, I see a little bit of problem areas in the lips, and they are gone. So it's just a matter of what do you want to see and what do you want to hide, and you can do a lot with just using dodge and burn. The reason I already decided to put a little bit more punch in the end image, in the final image, is to actually, because then you emphasize the skin texture, meaning it's a little bit more trickier to actually fix it because you get a lot more detail in the skin. And there we go. So what do you guys and girls think? Is this a bit already too crazy, the retouch, or is it still acceptable? Let me know, because the chat is like totally dead. Irma, je kan met mij sturen door normaal in de chatbox een bericht te sturen. Dat zou normaal moeten lukken. Lukt dat niet, stuur mij gewoon via Facebook een berichtje en dan kan ik je dat wel behandelen in de vlog. That was the English part. The Dutch part, I mean. Okay. So this is the original one. This is the retouched one. What I'm gonna do now as a final step is actually try to even out the transitions in the skin. You can do this two ways. You can actually do this with frequency separation or with a plugin. Let me show you both. So if I merge everything and I keep the layers intact, there is a shortcut for it, meaning you can actually hit Ctrl Shift Alt E or Command Shift Alt E, and then it merges everything together from below, but it keeps the layers beneath it. So now I got a layer 11, and if I just open up Portraiture, this should do the trick really nicely. As you can see, it softens it way too much. So now it's up to me to actually fiddle around with these and see what I like. This is one way to do it, but as you can see, you get like a really artificial look to the image. I don't like it for this one, so I'm gonna go with the frequency separation. So I'm gonna delete this layer, hitting backspace, and what I'm gonna do now is merge everything together again, duplicate this layer, go to it's been a while since I've done this. Go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Here you put in an amount of like, yeah, enough to actually blur out the texture but keep the definitions of the skin. So I'm gonna go with an 11, and on this one, if I'm correct, I'm gonna change this to linear light, and then image, apply image, add to 128, or this subtract, because normally we got yeah, here I have to check layer 11, then invert, and then 2 128. No, that's not the right one. Then I'm gonna go with add. Pretty sure it was add, and 1 0. Yeah, anyhow, normally I know it, but it's been so long since I'm using an action. So you can actually just use an action, which is yeah, a normal frequency separation. I can look it up really quick. Give me just 5 seconds. Because they use it a lot to soften things, but I don't like to soften things in Photoshop, so yeah, I was right. So yeah, it was okay. So it was image. Okay, so I was right. I was going the right way. So I'm gonna undo again. Okay, let's just do it again. Blur this image, duplicate this image, go to image, apply image, oh, not duplicate image, apply image, then go to add, use the layer 11 in this case, 2 0, and hit invert. Is that right? Yep, that are the settings, but just don't do it on a okay, the best part. So let's go totally again. So we actually merge everything together, Control Shift Alt A. Well then, I'm just messing around with it, so I still have to decide what I'm actually doing. I'm doing a frequency separation and I got an action for it, but since it's been so long I've done it manually, I'm a little bit bugging with it, so I'm gonna duplicate the layer twice, disable the eye, then blur the entire image, meaning with blur, Gaussian blur the entire image, and here I use radius, which is enough to actually blur the entire image, so 11 is okay, to actually blur all the texture in the image. Then I'm gonna enable layer 11 copy. I'm gonna go to image, apply image, and then I'm gonna do this one, layer 11, and this should do the trick. And then I'm gonna change this to linear light. Okay, totally wrong. Hey, let's go again with it. Okay. Yeah, it should be okay. Anyhow, look it up. I'm gonna just do the frequency separation action because I'm not gonna fuddle around too much. So we got the frequency separation. I think everybody who is watching knows how it goes. So back to the retouching. So I've used an action which is like the low layer, the higher layer, and this one is clipped. So what I'm gonna do is actually duplicate the low layer with hitting Control J, and then with Alt pressed in, I'm gonna clip this one to the one below to actually have a backup. And what I'm gonna do now is actually where we have transitions, like here you can see we have a transition, make a selection with a feather and then go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and here you put in an amount that high to actually see the transitions going on, like 30 is okay. The same with this part. If you hit Control or Command F, you're actually redoing the last blur you've done. Like when I filter this one out, Control F, do the same with this one, Control F, Control F, Control F, the transition on this part, this part. So I'm actually making selections where I see the transitions are an issue. I'm not gonna do it here because the transitions here are too harsh, meaning if I do it here you get a lot of smudges. But so far so good. Now to this area. There we go. Voila. So and now if you can see the before and the after, it's something totally different. The transitions between the shadows and the highlights are a lot more evened out. So this was a frequency separation. So what we've done so far is this. What I'm gonna do now is actually let me think what I'm gonna do now. See if I can still manage to transition this a little bit better. Current and below. Voila. So I'm actually using now a clone stamp on current layer and everything at 100% to actually yeah, clone the texture on top of it. There we go. So I'm actually trying to even out the transitions a little bit more. And there we go. Like this is already a lot more evened out. So far, any questions? If so, let me know. Nobody? So, yeah, now I'm gonna do a final liquefy, so Ctrl Shift Alt A. What I'm gonna do then is filter liquefy. What you could do is actually also make this a smart object so that you're actually able to go back, just to be sure that you're actually, if you liquefy, yeah, there's no way back. So what I've said before, I'm not sure if I like it now or not. I'm gonna restore all, and then I'm gonna use a bigger brush, and then I'm gonna that better. As I said, I'm gonna try to open up even out some transitions. Also give it a little bit more. Come on, not too much. Just keep in mind, if you're doing this, try to respect the model's body. Don't try to mess it up too much. I'm just trying to do things that are aesthetically okay. Like what I could do, for instance, actually do this, but that's too much. There we go. I think that's more than enough. Like if I show you the before and after, before, after, not such a big difference, just a little bit. So, and that will be the retouch, I think. Yeah, as you can see, before, after. Now you can actually still play around with the curves and actually see how you can manage it in regards of like if I put a curve on it, but that's more like a creative decision. So you can actually do like create negative black or a fade effect. I like this one a little bit more punchy, more like this. No, I like the, so this is more like, do you like it or don't you like it? Again, keep in mind that the creative part can go really crazy. I'm just checking what we might come up with. Again, if you got a point in the curves and you're dragging it, and you don't like it, just hold it, click it, and then drag it out of the curve. Also, what a lot of people don't know is, like, if you put points on the line with minus, you can change between the points on the keyboard. Like now I'm pressing minus, it changes to this one, then this one, and so on. The same with plus. There we go. So again, before, after. A thing you can actually still do is like put another soft light on top of it, and then just zoom out really far away, and then create a little bit of depth, like, and then blur that totally, like 200. Put a layer mask on top of it, and then darken the parts you don't want the effect to be. Lower the opacity, and now you've just created a little bit more depth in the image, a little bit more creative atmosphere, let's say. I still think it's a little bit too much. That's better. So now the attention goes immediately to the face and not to the body, because in the beginning, if you look at it, Pascal, the lock of hair on the right, you mean like this right or this right? Camera right, model right. Let me know. I think you mean this thing. I'm not sure if that's what you are meaning. Just let me know. So again, I was saying, like, yeah, that's nice. Let's change the color to something green. Like in the beginning, the attention goes a little bit too much to this part, so we've lowered this. We've brought in a little bit my right, meaning this part. Tell me if that's what you mean. Wait, I'm just gonna do it like this. Is this the thing you mean, Pascal? This, or do you mean the, let's change color, the green or the blue, just to be sure? La mèche de cheveux qui traverse à hauteur des yeux. So probably is there something? Okay. Okay, the same level as the eye. I am here. You mean this one? Because trying to get you, but you mean this line? The other side. Oy. I don't see it. This one? Other side, yeah. The blue part, Pascal, or something else? Because it's in the face, or it's the hair next to the face, or LA on the side. Okay, let me see what you mean, Pascal. No, we're not gonna. Yeah, okay, I got what you mean. I got what you mean. Finally. You mean the line, actually this one. So what you can do, that's again what you can do. So what I'm gonna do now, so this image is done. If you guys got any questions about this, let me know on the chat. I will get back to you later. What I'm gonna do now is first answer that question of Pascal. So I'm gonna actually duplicate this one to a new layer, to a new document. So Pascal is asking to remove this tray of hair that's actually crossing the hair. So what you can do is use, I always first try the spot healing brush. For hair it does an amazing job, so I just go over it, I let it calculate, and then I see what it does. It does crap. So that doesn't work. The next thing is use the clone stamp, like at a low layer of a low flow of 20%, and then I just try to build things up as I go along. again, you have to be lucky enough to actually so this is one way we could do it, and then I'm gonna rotate it with R. And then what I could do if I want to actually totally do it is take a small brush and then really small zoom in, and then just like, oh, that's too much, and then just draw in some lines yourself, and then lower and blur it a bit to actually give some more depth to it. And then if we see what we've done, so in the end, that's the easy part. That's the easy way. I'm not saying this is perfect because hair takes a little bit more time, but that's one way. Another way is actually make a selection of the hair that is almost as good as. I'm gonna duplicate this one with hitting Ctrl or Command J. Then I'm gonna move it up, and then I'm gonna transform it with Ctrl or Command T. And then on top of here you got this tool, which allows you to actually bend things around. So what I'm actually gonna be doing is bending this in such a way that it should look natural. I'm gonna confirm this. Then I'm gonna put a black layer mask on top of it, and then with white, with a flow of 30%, I'm actually gonna be painting over it and blend it in properly. And there you go. You can go back to actually mold it a bit more. There you go. What you can do is like if it's too big, you can actually just take this part, Ctrl or Command T, then you have the possibility to just manipulate this part of the image like so. There you go. Also, if the bars bug you too much, like Ctrl T, transform, just hit Command or Ctrl H and then they disappear, but you're actually able to move texture around the way you want it. I hope this makes it a little bit more clearer. So it's more a combination of crafting, meaning you take hair from another part of the image and then you try to mold it so that it actually fits the hair. Or another solution is redraw it, or make a mixture of dodge and burn, redraw, crafting, healing brush, clone stamp. But hair is in general the most annoying thing to fix. I hope this makes a little bit of sense, Pascal. I like the hair here. It doesn't bug me because I like it because it gives a line leading out, but that's something personal. But is this a bit of an explanation or not? Okay. Any more questions, guys and girls? Because I don't know who's watching. I know some of you, but not everybody. I'm just checking. If there are no more questions, then I'm just gonna sharpen this image for output, and then I'm gonna save it for web, and that will be it for tonight. So I'm gonna check just to be sure. So what I'm gonna do to sharpen is actually resize it so that let me change to me in the camera. So what I'm gonna do actually is resize the image and then sharpen it. Sharpen it before actually exporting it in a different size doesn't make any difference. So what you need to do is actually first merge everything together with Ctrl Shift Alt A, the magical combination. Then you duplicate that layer onto a new document. You then resize the image, and then you sharpen the resized image for Facebook. Meaning if I change back to my screen, what I'm gonna do is merge everything together. So Ctrl Shift Alt A. Then I'm gonna right click on the layer, hit duplicate layer, and with document I'm gonna say new. So this final layer is on a new document. Then I'm gonna resize it, image size The native size of Facebook is 2048, or half of it or double of it. So normally I put my images on Facebook at the size in the longest of 2048 pixels. So I'm gonna do that now. In this case, the height, enter it, it resizes it. Then I'm gonna duplicate this layer. Normally I desaturate the layer, but since it's a desaturated image, I'm gonna change this one to linear light, the blend mode. And then I'm gonna go to filter, other, high pass. What I'm gonna do now is zoom in and then have a look. Like if I put here 20, you see it looks like if I put 10, still too much, 5, too much, 3, starting to get there, 1, too much. So it's normally somewhere between 0 and 1 depending on how sharp you want the image. Normally I go with 0.3. Because you see that the eye is not tech sharp, what I'm gonna do is merge everything back together, Ctrl Shift Alt A, desaturate it again, change it back to linear light, filter, other, high pass, and then I'm gonna do, like, for instance, one might be good. I'm gonna put a layer mask on top of it, and then I'm gonna mask in just the eye. Lower the flow, and that will be it. Then what I normally do is put my watermark on top of it. I got a brush for that. There we go. Center it, lower the opacity. Then I'm hitting Ctrl Alt Shift S to actually save for the web. While it's saving, I'm just checking. And now I'm gonna check if the quality is okay, if I don't have too much difference, because with a black and white image, when you save for the web, sometimes it might get a little bit darker, so I cancel this one out and then I put an extra curve on top of it to actually brighten things up. So I'm gonna save this one out. I'm gonna call this one lean. Yeah, already 15 apparently. And then that's it. I just close this one out. I don't save it. I'm saving this one because this is the one with all the layers in it. So I'm gonna group this one, call it liquify. This one is depth, and this one was for sharpening, so this one can actually just go. And there you have it, like before, after. It looks a long time now since I'm streaming 1 hour 15 minutes, but in the end you will see when you're doing it yourself, it's not that long. It's still okay. Do you still got some questions, guys and girls? If not, I'm gonna quit this one out with an outro. Also, just in case, I'm vlogging now, so I'm actually vlogging on a weekly base. I'm just gonna change to the webcam again. I'm vlogging now on a weekly base, meaning I take the camera, I've put it there, the Canon G7X Mark II with me during the week, during the shoots. I'm still getting used to it, so it's still a little bit of a struggle to keep reminding myself to actually record things and talk to the device, since it's still pretty weird to actually talk to just the camera in public and explaining to models why you're actually doing it. So I'm doing it this week again, like I will be doing it each week. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this. Let me know below if you like the stream or not, or if you got any suggestions for future streams. I'm not gonna do it on a weekly basis because streaming takes a lot of time, especially because I don't do this up front, so I do it live. I don't like to retouch it up front and then redo it again while doing a live stream. Yeah, if you guys got any guys and girls got any suggestions for future updates, let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up on the live stream. I will be sharing this one on my YouTube channel, so you will be able to actually rewatch it. Again, big thanks to everybody who tuned in. You were not with that many, but hey, we have to start somewhere. Again, yeah, thanks again for watching. I'm gonna run the outro now, or at least I'm gonna look for it. See you guys on one of the workshops or something, and I'm just gonna stop myself a little bit. So again, don't forget to go and check out Lean. She's the model in the images. Like, this is one of the images we've shot. This is one of the images we've shot. This is one of the images we've shot. This one. So feel free to go and check her out. Also, go check out my Instagram account, just my name, and then you can see all the lovely ladies. And then the website, this one, don't forget to go check it out if you want to attend future workshops. There are some new things online. Also the YouTube channel, at the moment, yeah, you can see we got 4 vlogs online. Go check them out, let me know what you think. So thank you so much guys for watching. I'm just gonna check the chat just to be sure, and see you guys in the next vlog or live stream. Ciao ciao guys and girls, bye bye.